Hello and welcome to LSRTV. We're going to bring you round number 4 of the Bootleg Racing League Outlaw Modified Series. Been a fantastic championship thus far. Do not have a graphic, but we do have the points for you. It is currently Charlie Kuzma who leads the way with 40 points. John Holcomb and Stefan Alphonse, they round out second and third with 33 apiece, and J.R. Shepard with 28, Donnie Moore with 24. Let's be a little bit real though. This is Randolph Chinnis. I am joined by Andrew Cardinal. I was going to struggle with his names, but instead I struggled with the J word. Andrew, this early into a series, only running week number 4, the points don't matter too much unless you're well on the outside or way ahead. For right now, everyone's still pretty close. Everyone's more than relevant.
Yeah, you know, it's always a good opportunity to go to a track early in the season to just get some points, grind out at the rest of the season. Really, you ain't got to worry about it too much. You can afford to have a bad race early, you know, but you definitely don't want to have a bad race. You want to just capitalize on what you can early on and build for the rest of the season.
Yep, if ideal, you do not want to have bad races, but sometimes it happens. Right now, I believe we have a 13-car grid that'll be taking part here. And, well, let's talk about this racetrack. Martinsville, half-mile racetrack, one of the most popular circuits in the United States for short mile racing. Known as a paperclip. Let's just be honest. If you don't know what Martinsville is at this point, you probably never will.
Yeah, Martinsville is one of those most historic tracks out here, you know, on the NASCAR circuit, of course, but even to modifieds and late models and everything. And it's got a lot of character, too. Obviously, you can't get too far down in the corner. Can't get that yellow curve. You can't get too far up the track either, though. You can get into some big trouble if you go too high up. But I think these guys are going to have a lot of fun here tonight. These modifieds are almost an underused car on the sim nowadays, and they're a lot of fun to drive at a place like Martinsville.
Yeah, we've seen, I know the modifieds are still popular. Still a lot of various series and private leagues that run them that are on a variety of other broadcasters, but it's mostly the dirt stuff. I know the dirt modifieds, the UMPs have gotten quite popular, but I think really with dirt stuff coming out, these little the asphalt modifieds, but the tour modified rather, not the super modified. If they're the super modified, I'd be racing, I wouldn't be talking to you. But the tour modified and the SK modified, which they're running tonight, I mean, it was already a fairly niche community, and then with the advent of dirt, I think it's gotten even more niche, if that's even possible.
Yeah, you know, I actually took part in a modified event earlier this week. I hadn't really driven it before, but it's actually a really cool car to drive. And really, I wish this car would get more popularity out there on the sim, because it really is just a lot of fun. It's only got 2 gears, so you ain't got to worry about, you know, shifting too much. It's a lot of fun to really use this thing. And, you know, it's got big Nerf bars in the front and the back that you can beat around with. And I even test drove a little bit here. It's really not that hard to drive. It's easy, it's fun. I don't know why it doesn't get used more.
Well, there's a lot of content. Now, of course, the Bootleg Racing League does more than just these modifieds, and every Saturday they sort of do their own sort of short track show, and part of that, they have a street stock and limited late model series. Street stocks, Kenny Kibbe took the checker flag in that one just a little bit ago, and in limited late model, there was Matt Chinosky who won that one. So Kenny Kibbe and Matt Chinosky, a couple drivers as the counter gets ready to tick down and we get ready to grid. A couple people, Andrew, that we maybe need to keep an eye on, as they might have some momentum coming into this thing.
Yeah, and of course, you know, previous winners in another division in the same league, they're going to have a leg up. They're already into a rhythm. But you also have to look towards the top of the practice grid. We're going to have J.R. Shepard actually taking home, I guess, P1 in practice. Stefan Alphonse not too far behind. Those guys actually look to have a pretty good wrap on this place, at least hundreds ahead, if not, like J.R. Shepard, a tenth and a half.
Now, of course, thank you for joining us, because we know that the race is happening at Richmond at the same time. So for you to join us like this is always a very happy thing. But first things first, we need to go down your starting grid, and let's do that here on LSR TV. As something is wrong with the overlays, which is always good. So we'll try to get you that here in just a moment. Get the graphic up on your screen, but we can go down it manually. Andrew, why don't you take us down our 13 cars?
Yeah, so starting on pole, we're going to have the 5 of Lowell Jewell. To his outside of row number 1 will be Jay Harnd. John Holcomb will be starting 3rd in the 69. Donnie Moore at his outside in the 26. J.R. Shepard starting 5th. Kenny Kibbe, we talked about him already. He'll be starting from the 6th position in the 14 car. Charlie Kuzma will be starting from the 7th position with Stefan Alphonse to his outside. Eric Nordhoff in 9th. Matt Shanowski going to round out your top 10, followed by Jeff Sharp, Brian Den, and Dustin Powers in 13th.
So now we can get the graphic up. Sorry about that. I had a bit of a crash with the overlay software. And in getting it back up, you got a nice little sneak peek at Randy Chinnett's desktop background. Spoiler alert, it's not too fancy. As we're just going to give you a quick look through all these guys. Now, of course, in this championship, they do not do qualifying. They do a grid invert from the final race. Top 10 from that race are who gets into the show and gets into a good position. 10th place finisher starts on the pole. First place finisher starts in 10th. So as the field works themselves in towards turns number 3 and 4, we're going to wait now for that driver up in front, Lowell Jewell, to get on the throttle, and then we will be green for 100 laps of racing. Green flag flies, Lowell Jewell gets on it. We are green, 100 laps on the board, and that number 5 car wasted no time. He is 2 car lengths clear as they head through 1 and 2.
And the 69, John Holcomb, going to follow through, use that bottom side here at Martinsville that you really want to use. He gets through to 2nd. Now you're going to have the 98 of J.R. Shepard move into 3rd. These guys are freight training the guys who started on the outside.
Yeah, the outside is generally not where you want to be at a place like Martinsville. The top is disadvantageous to say the least, so we're going to take a quick look at your top 5 as they come through to end lap number 1 really quickly. You see Jewell, Holcomb, Shepard, Moore, and Harnett, the top 5 at the end of the opening lap, but as they head down in towards 1 and 2, once again, you can see it is pretty much just Lowell Jewell out in front, and everything's gotten pretty single file pretty early here, Andrew.
Yeah, these guys are going to probably single file out early, like you said, just get into a rhythm, but it's only 100 laps. It's actually one of the quicker races I've seen at Martinsville. 100 laps goes by pretty quick, even though it sounds like a daunting number. It goes by pretty quick when you're running 20-second lap times, or in this case, I think 20-second lap times. I'll get it out eventually, but this is going to go by pretty quickly for these guys, even though it looks like a daunting number of 100 laps. And right now, they all just get settled in, and they're just going to get into a rhythm, then finally do battle, I think, around lap 50.
Car we're looking at right now is that 16 of Charlie Kuzma, as you see him going towards 3 and 4. Spawn Alphonse, a little bit close to the end of turn 3, but overall everyone's nice, calm, cool, and collected. And talk about that lap count, 100 laps in a race like this. We've seen, you know, they always do 100 lap events in this championship, so the drivers are going to be used to it. But the thing we need to keep an eye on over the course of this event is, of course, tire life. Might seem relatively short to some of the guys who do road course racing. 100 laps in, what's really going to be potentially only a 30-40 minute race if it manages to stay green. But tires can easily drop off on these cars. And, we haven't really talked about the weather at all. It's pretty cool. 7 degrees ambient, 73 degree track temperature coming into this, so it's sort of ideal situation for these drivers to be able to make those tires last over a 100 lap event. They're not having to deal with a greasy slick surface or anything crazy like that.
Yeah, this track is starting out relatively green, and obviously they're going to lay down a lot of rubber over the course of 100 laps. It's two turns a lap, of course. But, right now, you mentioned it, starting off on a pretty green track, not too greasy. They should be fine in the early going. It's when we get down towards lap 100 that it'll be interesting to watch. Right now, though, the 69 of John Holcomb starting to put pressure on our leader, Lowell Jewell.
John Holcomb doing his best to work himself up there. Going to ride on board for a couple of laps and see what John Holcomb's having to do with this machine. See, he runs all the way out to the wall pretty much on the exit, but watch both him and the driver in front of you in the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation car. That's Lowell Jewell. But Lowell's a little bit up the racetrack through 1 and 2 there. That's not a mistake you want to make too often here, Andrew, because you leave that inside door open just a little bit, or you do it too many times here at a place like Martinsville, suddenly you're going to find yourself in 2nd as opposed to with that race lead. You need, more so than anything else, need to shut off that bottom, as once again Lowell runs the middle in 1 and 2.
Yeah, you can diamond these corners, but you have to make sure that you do it right and you don't give the guy behind you enough room to get underneath you in center, or you're going to have a bad time. But right now, Lowell Jewell's still hanging on to that lead. He just has to be careful to not leave too much room in case Holcomb gets a run through the center of the corner and can get his nose down there.
So, and you can see as John Holcomb gets a pretty big run there coming off the corner. He's going to take a peek down here in towards corners number 3 and 4, and the 5 car is going to go up to the middle, but no, that 69 will not find an opening as he runs through 3 and 4. So because of that, they're going to stay as they run. And looking up and down the field, biggest mover right now, at least amongst your leaders, is currently this 98 of J.R. Shepard. And you talked about this at the start, drivers on the outside getting freight trained. Right now, you look at the drivers who run up near the front. Leader first, started first, second place started third place started fifth, fourth place started fourth, so Donnie Moore did a good job there. Fifth place started seventh. Basically everyone who's on the inside has moved forward, and then you get deeper in the field. The driver who runs eighth started sixth. The driver who runs in seventh started sixth. It's just this field was so inside dominated here at the green flag that all those drivers have worked their way forward who started there down on the inside.
Yeah, and it's a really good job you mentioned by Donnie Moore to get to the bottom so quickly, although he has a big moment there through 1 and 2. The 16 Kuzma got to his back bumper a little bit. That created a short little effect there. I can't even think about it right now, but anyways, the 16 checked up a little bit. He got in front of the 13 and could have been big. They avoided tragedy there. They'll keep going, but Donnie Moore doing a great job right now on fourth. He started fourth. That's kind of rare to get down there so quickly.
Well, it's one of the things here at Martinsville. You have to be aggressive and not only being able to make moves, but when you have an opportunity to go down to the inside of the 16 machine, Charlie Kuzma saw an opportunity. The driver behind does get spun. That's actually Jay Harnett who ends up facing the wrong way. We're going to take a quick replay and take a look at that one. So it was just a moment. As we rewind the tape and take a quick look as they were going down in towards turn one. You can see the aggressive move, and that 44 car ended up getting sent around. Going to get another replay of this one. And I think the spin actually came from behind. I think it would have been Kenny Kibbe who kind of sent that driver around just a little bit. We'll ride on board with Kenny Kibbe, see exactly what happened here, as I made a fatal mistake. And we'll rewind the cameras once again just so you can see what happened here with the onboard of Kenny Kibbe. See him going down the front straightaway in towards corners number 1 and 2. And then here's where the incident is going to occur, in towards corners number 3 and 4. He ducks down to the inside, sees this open door, going to go for it, does Kenny Kibbe, and, well, he pretty much hooks that 44 before they ever really get to the corner, and, well, that's pretty much all she wrote.
Yeah, and it really just looked like a racing deal there. You know, the 14 went low to try and get that position from the 44, and they just kind of made contact. It's kind of hard to track, you know, the way each car went. Looks like they just got into each other into the corner, and that's part of Martinsville. And, you know, we were seeing it in the center of the corner, too. Guys giving bumpers. It's not that big a deal. It's Martinsville. But if you keep doing that over the course of a race, it's going to stick in the minds of some drivers.
Yeah, sorry about that little hiccup on the replay, guys. We use a slightly different system with the broadcaster that I typically work with. So there'll be a couple little rough spots, but overall I think we'll end up making this just a perfect broadcast. But a couple notable maneuvers. Jeff Sharp, he's up from 11th up into 7th, and that's notable, Andrew, because of course when you start outside the top 10, in order to have the chance of starting up front, you need to get yourself into the top 10. Jeff Sharp's done a good job. He's worked his way up 4 cars, and he's inside of that top 10, which means that even if he doesn't advance much further, he's in for a good starting position going into the next race.
Yeah, and I mean, on this restart, for example, he's going to have a great shot to get by at least a couple more cars here. If he can get maybe the 13 or the 26, he'll be starting on the outside. He has a really good shot to get some more positions. Doing a great job so far, though.
So, restart coming at you. We're going to ride on board with the 16 of Charlie Kuzma. See him starting on the inside, 3rd row. Let's see what this driver in the number 16 can do as they head their way down now in towards the front straightaway. Green flag flies. And let's see, watch this outside group potentially just get freight trained. As you see, Charlie Kuzma very aggressive, getting his way down to the bottom, not quite able to make a move up just yet. That number 25 car out in front of him, the 26 car up to the outside, that's Donnie Moore doing a good job to get down to the bottom. That's the second time we've seen Donnie Moore do that, Andrew.
Yeah, that was a great move from him, and now you'll see the 69 of John Holcomb even fall in line there. Oh, and contact behind, the 16 goes around.
16 goes around, driver that we were actually riding on board with, and we are going to go yellow once again. So, going to take another look at that here on LSRTV.
I don't want to jump to the replay too much, but just a big move from Alphonse to get that spot and contact and see the rest.
Initial angle was not the greatest. We'll take another look at it. Get a little bit up the grandstands to look at this one. We're watching the 13 of Alphonse. That's who this camera is pretty much focused on. They head down the front straightaway. Let's see what Stefan attempts to do. That's a little bit of an opening, and yeah, he just went super aggressive going into that one. I think that's the only thing that can happen with, say, about an incident like that, is Alphonse was super aggressive trying to make that move down there.
and the accordion effect behind going to hurt some of these guys. It shouldn't be too bad. Obviously, they've got big old Nerf bars in the fronts of these cars and pretty big bars on the back. They should be fine, but they can't take too much of that kind of beating. Hopefully, everybody's good to go behind them. A big accordion effect further back. A couple of cars getting involved when they were just complete bystanders in the incident. But Stefan Alphonse gets into the 16, sends him around, and that was about it. You have to watch, though, if these guys use their right front a little too much like that, it can end up bending suspension in there. Obviously, open wheel cars, you don't want to hit wheels too much.
Certainly, and it is one of the things to keep in mind that there are no pit stops allowed in this championship. So even if you get damaged, well, let me take that back. You can make pit stops, but you cannot do a tire swap. So for these guys, they get a little bit of damage. They might be able to get the damage repaired, but if they can't get the damage repaired, it's usually just sort of game over, because there's nothing worse than trying to drive a damaged car on old tires. Sometimes you can maybe make a little bit of strategy work, and if you can get on new rubber, even if the car is damaged, you can sort of deal with it and drive around it and find pace somewhere else. But when you're on old rubber, not much you can really do about it.
Yeah, and that's interesting that there's no pit stops here. I'm new to this series, but you know, I'm used to a series where they only get one pit stop in the super late models, and that's a big thing to deal with. When you only have one, or you know, in this case, no pit stops allowed, you really have to manage your tires really good, and it can just be, you know, an absent-minded thing. Maybe sometimes you just forget just one time out of a million to, you know, uncheck your tires and not take tires in your pit stop. That could be a disqualification right there, complete accident.
So field gets ready to get stacked up. Lights are out on the iRacing safety car. As you can see on your screen at the top, Lowell Jewell has led 25 laps. We were working lap 26. So that number 5 car has been absolutely uncontested. And let's see what Lowell can make happen this time through as the field works their way down in towards corners number 3 and 4. And Lowell Jewell will be getting on that throttle. He comes off that 4th corner. Green flag back in the air here at Martinsville. And in towards 1 and 2, Lowell Jewell is going to work the inside and look for the freight train effect to potentially happen once again. And look for Donnie Moore to get aggressive, trying to get back down to the bottom, as we've seen on both of the restarts tonight.
J.R. Shepard gets in, but Donnie Moore can't get in just yet. We'll have to see if Alphonse can fill that space to keep Moore from getting in behind the 69. So far, he can't. Meanwhile, J.R. Shepard now is going to try and attack the 5 car of Lowell Jewell. Can't make anything happen. Lowell Jewell is on rails so far tonight, and now you'll see Donnie Moore get in line. Now he's going to go on the offensive with the 69 of Shepard. Holcomb.
So back in towards 1 and 2, everyone pretty much remaining single file. Things start to get side by side behind. You see the 25 car isolated up to the top side of the racetrack. That's Dustin Powers. You got the likes of Matt Chinoski and Brian Dean around that little gaggle as they head through 1 and 2 now for the 29th time of 100. Down the back straightaway, Matt Chinoski is able to get clear, which means that Powers is now having to fight with that 23 car, Brian Dean. This is the second time we've seen this, second or third time we've seen this. Driver just gets isolated up top and, well, falls like a stone in a pond.
Yeah, the 25 just can't do anything on the top side. He can maybe get a run down the straightaway, but it's normally not enough. He might have room here. If he turns left now, he can get in, but he's going to opt to just make the safe call, stay on the outside. A good move there to just keep his car intact. Obviously, it could have been bad, but he had an opportunity. Drove smart about it. Now you'll see the 16 Kuzma get to his inside, and we might even see Kibbe get to his inside and just keep sending the 25 further back. And that's the effect that we could have seen with the leaders, but the leaders were really good about getting in line really quick.
And talking about the leaders, we've had a lead change out in front. We're going to get a replay of this because I'll be honest, I missed it. So we're going to take a quick look at this. And then we'll see the change for the race lead. I need to rewind the cameras back even further. Thought I went back far enough, but I did not. Now you can see the 98 car is out there on the racetrack in the 2nd spot. So we should see the change in position happen here in just a moment. 98 of J.R. Shepard just gets a big run, makes a move down to the inside. And well, that's pretty much all she wrote. We talked about the fact that Lowell Jewell was running that upper groove in 1 and 2 just a little bit, Andrew, and the fact that eventually that was going to come back to bite him. And well, what do you know? Eventually it did.
Yeah, and I mentioned the run off the corners a little bit, and J.R. Shepard did it even from the bottom side, just got a better run out of 4, got to the inside of Jewell, and made the pass in 1 and 2. It was a great move, but now you see Jewell trying to defend from the 69 of Holcomb, running a little bit high. If he gets just a little bit higher, Holcomb can stick his nose down there and cause some issues, so he's really got to be careful about leaving the door open. He's flirting with danger right now.
Oh, we got, speaking of flirting with danger, the 00 Matt Chinoski in the background. He gave that wall a bit of a smack coming off of turn 4, and that's not something you can do too much. We talked about a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact in these cars. Definitely can't make contact with that outside wall a little bit too much. You do have those sort of interior Nerf bars that sort of give you a little bit of protection, but overall it's not too much, as we actually have a yellow somewhere from the back of the field. This is a 22 of Eric Nordoff.
And Nordoff and Harned just get into each other. The Martinsville thing, really, it looks like these guys are, you know, they're racing respectfully. Obviously, this is a full contact kind of place, and, you know, short track racing is always full contact, but just a little bit there, they end up going around. Nothing too big, really, I don't think. They get out of it pretty safely.
Yep, just a little bit of a spin, and of course the camera angle I choose is absolutely horrible, so we're going to have to go to one more shot of this. This would have been the previous lap, so you're not going to see the spin coming off the corner here. It'll happen in the next one. There's a little bit of contact, actually, the lap before. It was Eric Nordhoff and Jay Harned. They got into it a little bit coming off of turn 2 the lap previous, and, well, you see they're coming off the 4th corner here, down the front straightaway. You see that 44 car gets a little bit of a run, not a lot, though, but going into the corner, that 44 car is definitely a little bit better, and coming off the 22, pushing up the racetrack, a little bit of contact. They both go around, and like you said, overall, no harm, no foul in terms of the damaged, because it was pretty tame contact for both of those cars.
Yeah, and those guys even missed the inside wall. It was a great job by each driver to lock it down and miss the inside wall out of turn 2. And really, they get out of it unscathed. You never want to spin out, especially when you can't get tires, but if you're going to spin out, that's the way to do it, I think.
Now, talking about another car, I mean, we mentioned how many laps he'd led. I think he led somewhere in the realm of about 30. That number 5 car of Lowell Jewell. Now he's going to have to restart on that upper groove, and I have to be honest, I think Lowell Jewell is going to fall here. I think we're going to see the 69 of John Holcomb take that 2nd spot, and potentially even the 13 of Stefan Alphonse make a move on the 5 car here in this restart.
Yeah, and of course, Jewell was working that top side in a little bit, but not enough. He just wasn't showing any kind of real speed up there. He wasn't showing any kind of speed to be able to hold anybody off, really. Just, I think, the respect of him being the leader. Nobody wanted to fire off at him too hard, so he was able to hold the lead for a while using the top side, but I just don't think it's going to work on this restart. John Holcomb, I think, is going to have a huge advantage, possibly even Stefan Alphonse.
Now, to quote Danny Ricciardo, if you're in this position, if you can pick up a spot on a track like Martinsville, you have to just lick the stamp and send it. It's pretty much the only thing you can do in order to make moves. Coming to lap number 40 of 100, there'll be 61 laps remaining in this event, and the 98 of J.R. Shepard is going to lead for the first time on a restart. Green flag back in the air, and what can the 5 of Lowell Jewell do? Can he find a window to get down to the bottom? Answer is going to be no. 69 of John Holcomb is going to look to pick up that 2nd spot, and he had him just about clear off the corner, but a little bit of a hiccup, I think, from Holcomb means that Lowell Jewell is still up there and still fighting for that 2nd spot. You also see him wheel to wheel behind, as Holcomb's now going to be able to take that 2nd spot off of 4.
And Donnie Moore really wanted to get going, but Jewell held him back. Now it's going to hurt Donnie Moore for the first time. He can't get right to the bottom side. He's going to lose at least a position, I think, to Alphonse in the 13. Might be able to get back in front of Chinoski, but at least for now, the 26 moving back. Actually, the 13 had a bit of a wobble there in turn 3, but he's now going to get back at it.
So 13 is Stefan Alphonse trying to get underneath that number 26 of Donnie Moore as they run through 1 and 2, and he's going to be able to pick that spot up. So Stefan Alphonse move him +1, move Donnie Moore back 1. I think it might be the first time tonight we've seen Donnie Moore be a big mover rather than a moving the wrong way, moving backwards as opposed to forwards here on these restarts. You have the 73 car of Jeff Sharp. He's looking to the inside here on a 16 to Charlie Kuzma, and that's not going to do. That would have been way late if he had thrown that one down there.
Yeah, there's a lot of big moves in the back right now. I was watching Brian Dean a little bit make a couple of moves at Kibby. He couldn't get it done. Now he's going to fall back. And these guys are really just getting antsy back here. I think they know there's a sense of urgency right now. If they want to gain points this early in the season, they have to get at it, and they have to really make work at it. You see the 73, Jeff Sharp. You mentioned him making a move. Now Chinoski gets tied out of corner number 2. Here comes the 14, Kibby to the inside of Sharp.
So Chinoski looking to make some move. Jeff Sharp also potentially losing a spot as you see the 14 of Kenny Kibby there now in the middle of your screen. Down into the corner they're going to go, still underneath that number 73 car, but Kibby's been unable to move his way up through the field too efficiently. He kind of kept the exit a little bit too tight there, I think, Andrew, on the exit, because he was there. He definitely had a good run, but he was a little bit too patient, I think, coming off the corner. Didn't want to squeeze that number 73, and because of that, that 73 of Jeff Sharp is still out there. I think if he was a little bit more aggressive with it and pinched that 73 to the top a little bit more and allowed himself to track up the racetrack a bit, he'd have that spot. And even right there, I think he was clear coming off too, but because he tried to keep the car tight into the middle of the racetrack, 73 is going to be able to stay alongside. It's good to see someone drive respectfully like that, but sometimes you got to get aggressive as Kibby eventually takes the spot.
And you mentioned driving aggressive. You know, you have to do it sometimes. Jeff Sharp thought about moving back to the inside of Kenny right there, so Kibby into turn one, thought better of it. So both of these guys driving really smart right now, but Sharp had a real good opportunity into one. Now he's going to close in a little bit. Can't do it in center. While those guys are battling, Brian Dean actually had to check up a bunch. He lost a bunch of time back to Dustin Powers. He had a big save actually out of turn two as well. He locked up the left front, kept it going though. Back up to the front, Lowell Jewell still in third place and is actually falling victim possibly to Stefan Alphonse here soon.
And, well, we always talk about it. 98 of J.R. Shepard, one of the best drivers in this series. And look what's happened. This is the first time we've seen anyone check out J.R. Shepard. He's gotten to this race lead on the restart. He's wasted absolutely no time, Andrew. He's out to an 8/10 of a second advantage here over the rest of the field as we're getting ready to come halfway next time by.
Yeah, and there's really nothing the 69 of Holcomb can do right now other than just try and maintain, I think. At least try and keep those tires in a decent condition, but not lose too much time back to third and fourth. And if he could do that, I think he'll be in a good position to at least come out with second, third, something like that. Maybe not the win. J.R. Shepard just seems to have this wrapped up at this point. Granted, we're only getting the popsicle sticks now. We're halfway, so we still have a long ways to go, but it's still looking like J.R. Shepard's race at this point to give up.
So J.R. Shepard comes off corner number 2 and maintains that big lead as we have 50 laps down, 50 laps to go. Going to be 49 laps down here in just a moment. And do a little short sort of grid rundown here as we take a look. J.R. Shepard, John Holcomb, Lowell Jewell, Stefan Alphonse, Donnie Moore, your top 5. With Matt Shinosky, Charlie Kuzma, Kenny Kibby, Jeff Sharp, and Brian Dean at your top 10. We, of course, have the entirety of the field still running, and most importantly, all still on the lead lap.
Yeah, this has been a really good race so far. I mean, even with the couple of cautions we've seen, nobody's gotten too tore up, and they've all just pretty much taken care of themselves and each other, and they're all still on the track within pretty much 5.5 seconds of each other. Even Eric Nordhoff, who is currently last, is still within 5.5 seconds of the leader, so about a quarter of a track splitting up the whole field. I think that's pretty darn good so far.
Take another quick look back down in towards your mid-pack. We're now looking at Matt Shinosky, who has 26 of Donnie Moore out in front of him and a 16 of Charlie Kuzma behind. You also have Kenny Kibby, who's 1 car back, and the 13 is Stefan Alphonse, 1 car forward. It's an interesting thing to note here, Andrew, is that we had a pretty aggressive first 30 or so laps of the race, but these guys have really calmed it down the last 15 laps or so. I think trying to really make this a good long green flag run. We've not really seen anyone attempt to move on anybody just yet. I think the tires may be sort of in an awkward phase. You know, you're talking 55 laps this time on the tires this time through. Of course, not all of that has been under green. Probably closer to about 42, 43 laps have been under green flag conditions thus far. And for what that means for everybody, that the tires are starting to get a little bit old, and the handling characteristics of their car is starting to change just a little bit.
Yeah, and sometimes these tires can go through different life cycles where they start out really grippy, then they start to lose some speed, then they come back for a little bit, then they lose that speed again. It really all depends. I can't really speak from the experience on this case, but now we actually have a car in the wall. I think that might have been Jewell, and that is, he's going to go down to the bottom side, lose third place. Stefan Alphonse around the top side, actually, as Jewell was slow. Now Jewell trying to fight back, but he's going to lose at least third, possibly fourth. With Donnie Moore to the inside, can't do it.
We're going to get a replay of that as we look to see what happened to that number 5 car. It's the red, white, and blue number 5 in the middle of your screen right now, as it would have, I believe, happened coming off of corner number 4. So we should get a good look at it with this camera as they head in towards 3 and 4 right here. What exactly happens to Lowell that causes this mistake? Rolls to the center of the corner, and you see that he just flat out plows up into the wall. Andrew, no other way to really explain that one away.
Yeah, front tires, I think, are just starting to go away. They're starting to lose some front grip, and of course there's nothing to really make too much downforce on these cars, so they have to rely on the lateral and mechanical grip. Really, they just have to rely on the tires and the suspension itself. As you see, Shinosky gets moved out of the way. Kuzma, I don't think really made contact with him, but was there, and Shinovsky reacted. He's going to go way up the track. But yeah, I think these guys are just starting to lose some front end grip, and that's why you saw Jewel push into the wall so hard, but he gets into it now. But he's pretty much fine at this point. Mato sacrifices a little bit of speed over the long run. Now Kuzma loose, saves it out of 4.
So a big slide there from the 16, and that's going to allow Matt Shinovsky to immediately throw the move back. And he actually had that spot at the line. So the 00 loses the spot and then picks that spot back up. But now look at Kuzma. He's looking racy coming off from corner number 2. Took a very late apex, and he had the run here towards 3 and 4. They're super close through the center of the corner, about an inch or so, if not 2, between them. That 16 of Kuzma, I think it may have been getting held up by the 00 Shinovsky, and the fact that he made that mistake has frustrated him as he goes down to the inside, moves Shinovsky out of the way, not by contact, but just going up the inside and saying hello. And now the 16 of Kuzma, bit of a run, it moves back to the inside here through 3 and 4. Can he get this job done? Aggressive fighting here for 6th place out there on the racetrack.
Yeah, Kuzma said hello. Now he's trying to say goodbye. He dives it into 1, can't clear him just yet. Now Shinovsky's going to fall in behind. Kuzma might make another crossover here. Actually just going to get to his back bumper. Doesn't make him move into 3. Going to fall in behind for now, but these guys are racing really close, and they're all looking racy here. A 5-car pack all under a blanket at Martinsville.
So down into the corner they're going to go. Kuzma's going to hold on to that spot for now, but what does Matt Shinovsky do? Because it's also one of those things you have to keep in mind, Andrew. Whenever you race someone really hard like that, you always run the risk that, I don't want to say they might get retaliatory and dump you, but they might start racing a bit hard the other way, and then, you know, if I'm in the position of the 00, it may not feel too bad, giving the likes of Charlie Kuzma a bit of a shot to that rear nerf bar as they enter one of these corners. But with that said, I think Kuzma has been able to stretch out enough of a gap, and he's far enough away that that won't happen unless that 00 intends to dump him.
Yeah, and I don't think any of these guys want to dump anybody, but, you know, of course, if I'm Shinovsky, I probably wouldn't mind giving him a bumper or 2 as well. I think I'd definitely be pretty liberal with my use of the bumper on him, but right now he's actually got bigger worries in the world. I think Kenny Kilby right on his back bumper through 1 and 2. Now down the straightaway into 3 and 4, can't do anything there, but Jeff Sharp is hungry looking right behind him. Then you have Brian Dean, an accordion effect out of turn 4, actually gets him a little bit spread out, but I think Shinovsky right now has bigger worries than just Kuzma ahead of him.
So Kuzma's going to be able to move out in front and clear, and I just want to check back in as we're approaching 30 laps to go. The number 98 car of J.R. Shepard started 5th on this grid. We'll bring up the gain graphic for you. Started in 5th, he currently runs 1st. Casually out in front with a 1.2 second lead, but with that said, John Holcomb just took about a 1/10 of a second out of that 98. It was a 20.2 for J.R. Shepard versus a 20.083 for John Holcomb. So Holcomb maybe saved his tires a little bit. He might be able to make a late race charge here with about 30 to go.
And Alphonse looks just as fast right now. He's not too far behind the 69, so don't overlook him in the 13 right now. He's running 3rd, looking pretty good. He got by Lowell Jewell, and that was important because now he can just set his sights on 1st and 2nd. So Alphonse looking really good right now in that 13 car. If you were to go back to 4th place, he's currently leading a 3-car pack. Lowell Jewell, after getting into the wall, has settled into 4th, just ahead of Donnie Moore and Charlie Kuzma.
And if you're Lowell Jewell in that 5, you have to be counting your lucky stars. It's not that often when you're running one of these open wheel cars, be it the modified dirt or asphalt, sprint car, dirt or asphalt, the Silver Crown car we have on the sim. It's not often you can smack one of those outside walls as hard as Lowell Jewell did and be able to not have damage after it. So for him to be able to do that, he needs to be quite the happy camper with the fact that he's still able to run and hold up drivers like Donnie Moore and Charlie Kuzma, who are showing some very quick pace here in the late goings.
Yeah, Donnie Moore is starting to come back alive, I think. He's really looking at it and actually almost just got tagged by Kuzma, but he's really looking at the back end of the 5 and looking where he can't go. He's looking to maybe get to the inside, I think, of Jewell. He's really starting to gravitate towards that left side a bit more than usual, and he's really starting to look, but now he has to worry about Kuzma behind him. Kuzma going to sit tight for now. Donnie Moore going to dive it into 3. And it looks like these guys are really using the brake, stabbing it in the center of the corner to get this thing to really rotate. As now Kuzma going to look to the inside of Moore. Almost made the move, but Moore makes the move, and oh, they make contact in 1 and 2. They somehow settled that one out.
So pretty aggressive moves coming out overall up near the front of the field. But with that said, it's going to be the 5 of Lowell Jewell who gets himself out there. I believe we just saw a change of position. Indeed, we did. The 13 is Stephon Alphonse. We're going to take a quick look at that here on an LSRTV replay, because now we have that 13 machine, I believe last season's champion, running in the 2nd spot.
And while Alphonse just lost a little bit of time to Shepard, he got the position over Holcomb. That's going to be big because actually, no, he just nailed the wall. I'll let you get the replay done, but he just nailed the wall at a 4, worse than Jewel did. Went up on 2 wheels, continues on, but some problems possibly brewing for Alphonse.
Now, as you can see, I'm going to skip that update for now, but we're going to go back to live pictures on LSRTV. That is something we're going to do, as it's always graphics and random things that come up on screen at pretty much the worst of times, isn't it? Especially right in the middle of your screen. So not sure why that happened, but Stefan Alphonse into that second spot now, running comfortable. I won't say comfortably because John Holcomb is right there. Well, pretty much the entire rest of your field is running from 4th on back behind Lil Jewel.
Yeah, and all these cars pretty much from, like you said, 4th on back under a blanket until you get back to guys like Dustin Powers and whatnot. But from 4th to 10th right now, all on top of each other. And one little mistake from one of these guys further up could cost this whole group really big time. You have one big slip up, one big slide like we've seen from a lot of these guys. It could cause a pretty big wreck between a few of these cars. Right now, single file, they're getting into things pretty nicely. Almost 20 laps to go, so they're not doing too bad or anything like that. Right now, they've just got to start wondering when they make the move for, for some of these positions. They can't just wait there for too long.
And that 16 of Kuzma doesn't look like he wants to. He closed heavily on Donnie Moore on the entry into turn 3, but not quite enough to be able to make a move. And I think it would have probably compromised his exit a little bit. So he's still tucked in closely behind that number 26 car of Donnie Moore. As these guys, well, if they've been patient up until this point, it's about time you stop getting patient and start getting aggressive as they're coming to 21 laps to go.
J.R. Shepard continues to lead. He's pretty much got this thing wrapped up. You go further back, Donnie Moore trying to hang on to a top 5. Kuzma on his bumper. Somebody runs wide. That was Kibbe, I believe. He's going to hang on to things. He gets back into the groove of things. Now Jeff Sharp going to see if he can catch up to him. No, he actually gets in the wall, loses a position to Brian Dean. I'm sorry about that, but Brian Dean now gets into 9th. Jeff Sharp moves into 10th. And further back, it looks like there's actually a battle for position between the 44 and the 22. And Jay Harned gets by Eric Nordhoff.
Now this is actually the battle for last place on the racetrack, and this is always good to see, Andrew, because I mean none of these drivers are very, I would say, uncompetitive right now. 9 seconds separates everybody, and it's really easy when you talk about the sort of tight racing you see at Martinsville for someone to drop 4 or 5 seconds. So to see these guys this deep in the field, rather than being laps down, but on the lead lap and scrapping it out for the last couple spots on the grid, it's always good to watch here, because oftentimes that's where the most aggressive fights come from, because no one wants to be that guy who finished last on the sheet.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not looking too bright for Eric Nordhoff, but he still has a lot of time, over 15 laps to get back at it. Meanwhile, Donnie Moore had a bit of a wobble through 1 and 2, hangs on to it. He's just in front of Charlie Kuzma. I think this is going to be one of the biggest battles as laps wind down, as they get right nose to tail. They get through that somehow, but Kuzma might be looking to the inside this time into 1, and indeed he is. He's going to make the move, gets his left front down, the right front, sorry. He makes contact, and Moore goes around.
So we're not gonna, well, let's see. This hasn't happened yet. We've got the yellow. It's flown. We're gonna get a replay of this incident.
And we'll let the replay tell a tale, but it looks like Donnie Moore might be done.
Certainly might be the case. We're gonna have to take a quick peek though before we can really make that judgment. See the number 26 car. There are quick repairs in this series, but going to come down pit road and take it this late in the race. You're not likely to pick up a lot of spots. And you see the 16 of Kuzma was super tight to the rear end right there through corners number 3 and 4. They head in towards 1 and 2. Kuzma looks down to the inside, and he's down there. And I have to say, I want to get another look at that because it's pretty hard to tell from that angle that I just used. I want to get a replay on board with Kuzma from when he actually made that move. So and I clicked the wrong button. That's wonderful.
While you get that up, I think there was some lockup on the left front of the 16 that led to that whole thing.
So now we're riding on board with Kuzma. Let's see, this might have been the previous lap. This is in towards 3 and 4. They're going to head down the front straightaway, and I think this is it. You see Kuzma's got the run. He's going to look down to the inside and watch those front tires. You can see him on your screen. I don't see much lockup, but there might have been. I don't know. That one's a little tough to call. Kuzma came up a little bit, but Donnie Moore also came down a little bit. So I don't think that one's too clear-cut, regardless which way you kind of want to sell it.
I think Kuzma got in a little bit hard, of course. He's racing for position. You can't knock him for that. But once he did, I think he really realized that he has to get on the brakes. And I think that's when you see a little bit of lockup, at least on my end. It might be different for you, Randy, but it really looks like to me that he panics a little bit when he realizes he's too deep into the corner, gets on the brakes a little too hard, locks that left front up. And, I mean, they were already going to make contact, but he definitely tried. He didn't want to turn the 26th around. Unfortunately, did. And you see the 26 goes around. He ends up getting into the inside wall pretty hard, then gets hit by Kibbe. Other than that, though, that was it. But you do see him smoke back to the pits. But he will get that fast repair and get back at it.
Another thing to keep in mind here, this is going to stack up the field. So those fights that were for last, actually the 26 of Donnie Moore, he's not going to be able to maintain lead lap status. He went down a lap. Of course, that's one of the things that can happen at Martinsville. So Donnie Moore, that's pretty much race done for him, and he's going to have a terrible starting position for the next race. But field is getting ready to come back to green flag, and this is going to stack everything back up, getting a restart with 11 laps to go. Already been a contact in your mid-pack as guys are getting aggressive, wanting to get going forward. Seeing 69 of John Holcomb trying to push J.R. Shepard, and eventually JR gets on the throttle. We are green with, I believe, 11 laps remaining here at Martinsville.
And this is great news for Holcomb and Kuzma. They're battling on the bottom side, trying to get every spot they can. All hope is not lost for the 26th, though. If we can get another caution here quick, we might have a chance. As Holcomb battles to the inside of Alphonse, he wants second place back, but it's going to be tough to get. These guys are on such old tires at this point. Grip is hard to find. Holcomb back to the bottom side, trying to find some grip right along the curbing. Got some time there, actually, but it's going to lose a little bit to Alphonse's run out of the corner.
Meanwhile, J.R. Shepard is out in front saying, thanks, guys, a whole lot. See the 13 of Alphonse still sort of running that second and a half, 2.5 or so grooves up. And the 69 of John Holcomb is pretty much pinned right up against the curb. And Andrew's absolutely right. When the tires are old, it can be difficult to maintain a tight radius corner, but not too long. And that 69 machine gets the move done, and Charlie Kuzma and Stefan Alphonse making a bit of contact, but we're going to stay green. No one ends up facing the wrong way, but a bit of a hip check there from the 13 and the 16, as I believe Kuzma is going to pick that spot up, and he immediately slams the door on Alphonse.
And contact further back, but they all get it worked out. Everybody's making contact, it seems like now. Shinosky to the inside of the 13, can't stay there. Alphonse might move down. No, Shinosky gets back to the inside. We'll see what Shinosky can do on exit. And the double O looking pretty good here in the latter stages of this event. Under 10 to go. Now Kibbe might be looking to get to the inside of Alphonse as Jewel gets clear of that battle.
So it appears Alphonse may have used up his stuff just a little bit too much here as he's starting to fall backwards. He's lost a few spots since the restart. It's still J.R. Shepard who commands this field, already out to a 1-second lead since the restart. So that shows the kind of speed that number 98 car has had. Then you have the likes of Holcomb, Kuzma, and of course Jewel, who runs in that 4th spot with Matt Chinosky and now Stefan Alphonse. They continue their fight wheel to wheel. Alphonse, he doesn't give up easy from that top groove as we're coming to 6 to go.
Oh,
and he almost gets around.
He's going to go around. Like Brian Dean and more.
So he's going to go around. That's going to be a yellow flag, and we'll get a look at that here on the LSRTV replay. And this is from a couple of laps previous, so you get a little bit of context and an idea of what happened here for the last few laps of this fight. You see, that's Matt Chinosky who's going to get cleared. I believe it was it Alphonse and Kibbe that made contact?
Alphonse just went around. He got into the corner too deep and just went around on his own. He ended up tagging 73 of Jeff Sharp. Really gets into Brian Dean. Brian Dean pretty much destroyed. Jay Harned gets a piece of it as well. Everybody else should get by relatively fine. I'm not sure about Lucky Dogs in this series, but Donnie Moore might not be in the worst position now.
No, he may not be, and that's what's really, really odd with this is he might cycle back out to a lead lap position. I'm not sure. I think he would have gotten the wave around by now, but we're going to have to keep track of Donnie Moore. But there's going to be a couple damaged cars that don't look like they're going to be coming down on towards pit road. So if Donnie Moore does get waved around the pace car here, he will be in a very, very opportune situation potentially.
He hasn't gone by yet, which makes me think there isn't a lucky dog rule in this series. Brian Dean, though, going to come in, get a fast repair. He will not lose a lap. Bad news for Donnie Moore. Great news for Brian Dean. Meanwhile, we keep mentioning it, J.R. Shepard with a great car. He's still your leader, but we've seen Charlie Kuzma be aggressive all race long. He'll be starting 3rd. You have to wonder if maybe he'll be a little bit liberal with the use of his front bumper. Maybe try and get after J.R. Shepard a little bit into turn 1.
And keep in mind, we're in a really tough situation. We might get a restart with 1 lap to go because the lights on the pace car still haven't gone out. We're on 3 laps to go right now. If we get, it's either going to be a 1 lap shootout or it ends with that yellow.
I can't imagine this thing ending. We've already gone through, I think, 3 laps. I think this will be the final lap before doubling up for the restart. So I think it's going to be 1 lap to go. Don't really see that in NASCAR anymore, but it's really cool to see on these short track races because that's when it's most exciting. These guys are battling for everything they can get. Now you see that they're going to double up. 1 more shot at it. So 2 to go now, and we'll be coming to the white flag when we get the green.
No, lights never went out. That's it. Lights never went out on the pace car. That's race over.
I think they thought they were going to double up, so they're not going to. Donnie Moore does get the wave around now, but it's not going to be for anything but pride at this point to say he didn't finish on the, or at least a lap down. So he will finish on the lead lap. Not going to be for much, though, as we won't get restarted. That's a real shame.
Yeah, I'm sort of confused, too, because I see it the way you do. I was expecting us to go back to green flag racing, but I think it may be just one of those things of an inopportune moment from when the caution actually came out and then when they actually picked up the pace car, because this has happened in the past. But they're working the final lap, and this race is going to end under yellow, and J.R. Shepherd is going to be a happy man.
And as I go back and look, they actually didn't catch the pace car until it was already 5 to go. So that explains it. They did have 5 laps of caution. That makes sense now. But as they come around Martinsville Speedway for the final time tonight to complete mile 50, J.R. Shepherd going to be your winner. He had a great car all night long. John Holcomb had a great comeback there, and Lil Jewell held on to a pretty good spot as well.
He definitely did. Lil Jewell did well in this race, and he's going to start a mid-pack, but somebody who's a happy man is going to be that number 98 of J.R. Shepherd, who you see on your screen right now. He's going to roll his way forward, and he will be the big winner here on LSRTV in round number 4 of the Bootleg Racing League Outlaw Modified Series. He will win this race under yellow. You then have John Holcomb, Charlie Kuzma, Lil Jewell, Matt Chinovsky, who round out your top 5. You're going to bring up your results right now. You get the likes of Kibbe, Sharp, Powers, Alphonse, and Harnett, who round out the top 10. And then down at the tail end of the field, Nordhoff, Brian Dean, and Donnie Moore will round out the end of this one. So a little bit of a rough one there, I think, Andrew, because I think we were all expecting it to restart there. But sometimes the iRacing gods just aren't in the quite same opinion as us, and sometimes these races end under yellow, as J.R. Shepherd is going to do a nice, calm, cool pace lap sped victory lap.
Yeah, I think this is really cool. Obviously, Mark Martin, I think, was one to say it's more honorable to not do the burnout right away. But then you see whips it around. Not sure what he'll do here, but what a big win for Shepherd. You mentioned he's one of the best here. I haven't been here before for this series, but obviously I would have to put my money on him for all the remaining races. He seems to be one of the best guys out here. Mid-race, even not even right from the bat, or right from the start with the great tires in the car. Once the tires were already worn in, he took that spot right from Jewell and just set sail.
Now the 98 of J.R. Shepherd, he did half of a regular victory lap and then half of a Polish victory lap. Does that like pan out to being no victory lap? I think the math checks out. Both sides of the equation are equal.
Yeah, it was an interesting one for sure. Ended up just parking it and getting out of the car, but a great run. I think he's warranted to do what he wants at this point. Had a great run tonight from Martinsville.
Definitely had a good run. And before we get to the rest of the post-race coverage, we're going to take a short break here on LSR TV. Get a quick little break. Let us get a drink, and we'll bring you some post-race interviews. Do not go away.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSRTV, and it may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Live Sim Racing LLC and iRacing.com Motorsport Simulations. LSRTV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.
Welcome back here to LSR TV as we are going to bring you post-race coverage from round number 4 of the Bootleg Racing League Outlaw Modified Series. And, well, we're going to kick it off immediately with your race winner. And that's going to be the man in that number 98. That's going to be J.R. Shepard. J.R., it was a fantastic run for you in this one. I think we're the quickest car all night. Lil Jewel led the first handful last, but you got around him early. How's that number 98 car? It seemed hooked up.
Yeah, it definitely was tonight. I don't know. It's a tricky track run at Martinsville in the SK Modified. So a lot of tire management. Really enjoy running here. It's a technical track, and just kind of saving my stuff early on, and then saw Lowell make a little bit of a mistake there, and I figured it was time to go.
Now, we had a lot of sort of half spins here at Martinsville, but it was a relatively clean race. There were a lot of yellows, but not a lot of heavy race-ending contacts. What is it about this place that sort of lends itself to that?
I think just because it's a technical track. So, yeah, it's one of those things, if you overdrive it, you're going to make a mistake, and I think guys kind of take it a little bit easier getting into the corners here, and I think that kind of lent to the green flag racing we had tonight.
Well, thanks for joining us, JR. Congrats on the big one. Enjoy starting deep in the field, but as much as you win in this series, you should be used to that. Before we let you go, sponsor plugs. Who gets it done for that 98?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Lowell Jewel and the Bootleg Racing League for everything he does and allowing us to be here. Thanks to you guys for what you guys do. Great broadcast tonight, guys.
Well, you haven't watched it yet, so I'm not sure how you can make that judgment, but you know what? I will take it. So thank you for that, J.R. Shepard. We look to see you run strong next week.
We'll see you guys.
Well, moving on down the order, the man who finished in that second spot tonight had a very good run himself. That's going to be the 69 of John Holcomb. He stood by with Andrew.
And John Holcomb, what a great run for you. You end up getting by Alphonse there on that last restart. How was that 69 tonight?
It was actually pretty good. I got a little hot on the tires there for a while, and that's when Stefan got to come up and get by me.
Yeah, we noticed you moved back there for a little bit, but you got right back by Stefan. Really great run. You end up coming home second. And really, I mean, considering J.R. Shepard was so fast tonight, I think that's a great way to close out your night.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I think we ran pretty good, and I truly didn't have anything for JR. I was just doing good to kind of stay away from the field and stay close to him. That guy's lightning.
Well, you certainly did a pretty good job of it. You made it look pretty good in that 69. So who makes it, or who helps you get it done there in that 69 car?
I want to thank my wife, Mindy. I want to thank my brother and Pam. And I also want to thank Lowell for running it and you guys for what you do. It's a great league. Have a blast out there racing.
Thanks, man, and hopefully we're talking to you next week.
All right, thanks, guys. See you.
And Randy, I believe you have third place.
Yep, I am stood by with third place finisher, 16 machine of Charlie Kuzma. And Charlie, you came from a little bit deeper in the field than most. You had a good finish last week. You started 7th tonight. And you managed to race your way up to 3rd. Now, that 16 car was involved with a lot of drama. You were involved with a lot of good, hard racing. Do you have fun out there tonight at Martinsville?
Yeah, a little frustration, a little fun. Part of the frustration was on my own part, too, there at the end racing with Donnie. I drove it down in there and had the nose on him, and he gave it to me, and the front end just wouldn't stick, and I got up into him, and I hate to make a pass like that. You know, I know we were a little bit quicker, but yeah, still hate it for him. He was having a good run tonight, so it's a public apology to Donnie Moore.
Technical circuit next week. How you feeling about that one?
No, what's that? I'm sorry, I missed that question there.
I said technical track coming out next week. How are your feelings going into that one?
Same as every week, boy. We're going to hang in there, and we're going to just see if we can kind of pick our way through the field one at a time. Top 5s are good. Top 3s are great. I'm getting used to talking to you guys every week. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it is the lowest prize in sim racing to get to talk to the LSR/race spot commentators.
I wouldn't say that.
So congrats to you, Charlie, on the 3rd place finish. Before we let you go, sponsor plugs, who gets it done?
Yeah, shout out goes to Lowell for everything he does for us here and keeping this league running week in and week out. You guys there at LSR, I want to thank my dad, my sister-in-law, the two of them check in every week and see what we do and get a kick out of this here. And shout out to the buttboxshop.com also.
Charlie Kuzma, everybody, third place finisher tonight. Definitely one of the most fun cars to watch, but another one that was good fun was actually that number 5 of Lowell Jewell. He rounds out that 4th position. He stood by with Andrew.
Lowell, sounds like you're a pretty important guy here in the league. You ended up starting on pole, fell back to 4th. You had a couple of big moments. Tell us all about your race there in the 5 car.
Well, I blew it when I hit the outside wall. It was like dragging an anchor after that. Just hanging on, trying to get what I could get.
Well, it still worked out pretty nicely. You end up going from 1st to 4th overall, but still not a bad night, I'd say, for Martinsville, given the circumstances. And JR was just so fast. But who helps you out? Who makes it get it done? And how you feeling about next week?
I'm ready to move on to next week, that's for sure. But I just want to real quick mention my uncle who passed away this week, Uncle Dean. This race was for you, buddy. And thanks for you guys doing what you're doing.
Lowell, we hate to hear that, and we honestly send out our deepest condolences. Hopefully, a good run tonight helps out a little bit, and hopefully you have a great rest of your weekend.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. See y'all next week.
See you next week, Lowell. So, but on down the road, after that touching message from Lowell there, we got one more driver that we have lined up for the interview, and that's going to be the double goose egg, Mr. Matt Shinosky, who rounds out a top 5 finish. And, well, Matt, I think of those who finish in the top 10, you were the biggest mover of this one. Actually, no, you're the second biggest mover in that one. Well, you'll equal, I'll put it that way. But started deep in the field after winning last week to run your way up to the mid part of the top 5. You're going to start right in the middle next week. You going to win it next week then?
Sure, why not? I'll give it my best.
The math works out for me for sure in that one. What is your opinion going into next week, by the way? It's a tricky track that we're visiting and should generate some interesting racing.
Yeah, it is. It's always fun with these guys. It's always a challenge every week. So every week's a new, fresh challenge. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, thank you for joining us, Matt. Congratulations on the top 5 finish. Before we let you go, who gets it done on that 00?
Well, I just want to thank just the league and you guys and all the racers, everything.
Well, thank you for that, Matt. I'm sure they all appreciate it as well. Well done out there. You put on a good show for us, you and a handful of the other guys we talked to tonight. Hope to see you run strong next Saturday.
All right. Thank you, Randy.
Well, as we look forward here on LSRTV, Andrew, I have to say overall that was a pretty fun race here at Martinsville. Don't think you can really expect much more or really much less from a race at Martinsville. There was some drama. There was good, hard racing. There was physical moves coming out. And, well, it's a 98 of J.R. Shepard who's the big winner.
Yeah, and this race really turned me on to this league. I really was wanting to run or do one of these broadcasts with you for a while in this series, and I'm glad I got to tonight. I really enjoyed it. Hopefully I'm back for more. It was a lot of fun to watch. Good, clean racing, hard racing like you mentioned, and drama like you mentioned. It was a great rounded race here from Martinsville Speedway.
Well, and for the Bootleg Racing League Outlaw Modified Series, that is going to do it for us here on LSR TV. And I've just noticed something really annoying with this that I just noticed after the entire broadcast was done. That's well done to me. But congratulations to Mr. J.R. Shepard on a big win here tonight. He was pretty much the car to beat. But do not go away here on LSR TV. We're going to be back in just a couple of moments. We're going to have the USR BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. They're going to be hitting the racetrack at Kansas in about 10 or 15 minutes time. Do not go away. We will see you then. But until then, bye-bye.